Hey guys, today we're going to do Unit 4, Lesson 6, which is evaluating a function. And the standard for today is use function notation to evaluate functions and interpret statements and functions. Okay, so we're going to get right into examples. So in the first example, we want to use the function rule to find f of 2. Now, in A, our function rule is, you see the f and then the parentheses with the x inside. That's said as f of x, and then equals 11 minus x. So you can also think of this as an equation. So that f of x, that's just a fancy way of saying y. So later on, our equations are going to always start y equals. So f of x and y, those are the same thing. F of x is just function notation. Okay, so we want to find f of 2. So that 2 is our x value. So in our function rule, I'm going to replace every x with a 2. So I've got f of 2 equals, and then I'm going to copy down the rest of the equation. So 11 minus, and then instead of x, I'm going to put 2. So again, whatever is in the parentheses, whatever number is in the parentheses, we replace x with that number. Okay, so now we're going to find f of 2. So then we just have to simplify the right side of the equation. So we're going to do 11 minus 2. Well, 11 minus 2 is 9. Okay, so f of 2 equals 9. That's our answer. Now for today, I highly recommend that you use a calculator. Remember, there's a calculator available in Google Classroom. That's a great calculator to use because it's scientific and pretty easy to use. Okay, in B, we have f of x equals x plus 7 over 3. So again, x equals 2 for this problem. So I'm going to write f of 2 equals, and then I'm going to replace that x with a 2 plus 7 over 3. Okay, so now we're going to simplify this side. So first we're going to start with 2 plus 7. Well, 2 plus 7 is 9, and then it's still over 3. And then we're going to do 9 divided by 3, which is 3. So f of 2 equals 3 for this problem. Okay, so let's move on to the next example. Okay, so this time we're going to use the function rule to find f of 4. So in both A and B, x is going to equal 4. So let's start with A. We have f of x equals negative 8x. So I'm going to replace x with 4. So f of 4 equals, and then negative 8. Now remember, anytime you have a number right next to a variable, that operation is multiplication. So we're going to do times, and then replace x with 4. Okay, so we just need to simplify that. So negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. So f of 4 equals negative 32 for A. Okay, in B, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to replace x with 4. So we've got f of 4 equals, and then we got parentheses 12 minus 4 squared. Now, if you use a calculator that's on or in Google Classroom, that's our Desmos calculator, you can put in the calculator exactly what the right side of the equation says. So you can put the parentheses, 12 minus 4, close your parentheses, and then square, and it will get you your answer. Now, if you don't have a calculator to use, then you have to use order of operations. So order of operations, that's our PEMDAS. So we're going to start off with what's inside our parentheses. So 12 minus 4, and that is 8. And then that's going to be squared. And then 8 squared is 64. So f of 4 equals 64. Okay. And then one last example. Okay, this time we're going to use the function rule to find f of negative 3. So in A, we're going to replace every x with a negative 3. So we've got f of negative 3 equals 15 plus. Now these straight brackets, those are called absolute values. And I will explain the absolute value in a second. So I'm going to replace that x with the negative 3. Okay, so absolute value is a distance. So it's the distance that a number is from 0. So because you can, when you have a distance, you're never going to have a negative number. So like, I can walk 3 miles, but I will never walk negative 3 miles. Okay, so because it's the distance from 0, it's always going to be a positive number. So anytime you see those absolute symbols around a number, that just means give me the positive value of that number. Okay, so if it's already positive, then you don't have to do anything. It just stays that same number. However, if it's negative, it means drop your negative and make it positive. Okay, so we're going to start off by taking the absolute value of negative 3. So the absolute value of negative 3 is going to be positive 3. And the important thing to remember is the absolute value is always positive. Okay, so then I'm going to rewrite this. So I have 15 plus 3. And then we just have to add 15 and 3 together. So 15 plus 3 is 18. So f of negative 3 is 18 in this problem. Okay, last one. So again, we're going to start off by replacing x with negative 3. So I have f of negative 3 equals 7. Now remember, when the number is next to the variable, that means times. So it's 7 times. Instead of x, I'm going to put negative 3 squared. And then plus 3 times negative 3. And then minus 5. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. So again, we're going to use PEMDAS. So technically, we don't have any parentheses. The only parentheses I used was because the number was negative. So we're no parentheses. So next we have exponents. So we're going to do our exponents. So we've got negative 3 squared. Okay, so I'm going to just rewrite everything else. So I have 7 times negative 3 squared means negative 3 times negative 3, and that is 9. And again, I will remind you, if you use the calculator that's in Google Classroom, or maybe even the calculator on your phone, you can put this whole line into your calculator and you'll get your answer. Okay, so that's probably the easiest thing to do is just use a calculator to calculate it. But if you're like me and you have fun figuring out problems like this, then you can do it out the long way. Okay, so I'm just going to copy everything else down. So I have plus 3 times negative 3, and then minus 5. Okay, so next I'm going to do multiplication and division. So I have 7 times 9, and that is 63. And I also have 3 times negative 3, and that is negative 9. And then I'm going to bring down my minus 5. Okay, so then 63 minus 9 is 54. And then bring down minus 5. And then 54 minus 5 gives me 49. Okay, so f of negative 3 is going to be 49. Okay, so that's it for today. Again, I highly recommend that you use a calculator just to double check all your math. Another thing, remember when you have the absolute value symbols around a number, that just means to take the positive value of that number. Okay, so if you have any questions while you're working, please make sure you let me know.